Welcome to Art to Know with MommyO, where many adventures in fine art are always fun art. Today we're going to look at an artist who gave us an extraordinary piece of droopy dream art that has made a big splash. I'm MommyO, your adventure guide. Join me in my studio as masterpieces of fine art come to life. We're in for a real treat. We get to meet an artist, a fascinating fellow with an intriguing name, Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dali y Dominique, first Marquis Dali de Pujol. Phew, that's quite a title. Good thing for those of us who appreciate art, he became known in his professional life as Salvador Dali. I bet you've heard of this surrealist before. Even if you don't know him by name, you're sure to recognize his artwork. Art historians from around the world agree that Salvador Dali's drooping dream art entitled The Persistence of Memory is his most famous piece of artwork. With its strange subject matter and dreamlike quality, this work of art is undoubtedly one of the most recognizable paintings of the 20th century and has taken its place in the annals of art as an iconic symbol for Surrealism. Surrealism is an art movement in which objects within the artwork are combined in unexpected ways, like in a dream. Some may call Surrealism peculiar, bizarre, odd, and possibly even weird. However, within artistic circles, the Surrealist movement of the early 1900s is often referred to as avant-garde, meaning new and unusual. Surrealists claim to create their dream art while in or just emerging from a dreamlike state. They seek to release their inner subconscious mind, and in some cases even their unconscious mind, both of which refer to the part of the brain lacking awareness or thought. Salvador Dali was the master of gathering dreamlike images from his subconscious mind and arranging them onto canvases in very unexpected juxtapositions. In other words, arranging them in strange and unusual ways. The most obvious of which is Dali's use and positioning of the drooping pocket watches. Never mind that the pocket watches are drooping. I really can't remember the last time I saw any pocket watch hanging from a dead tree branch. Beyond using his actual dreams as inspiration, Dali in fact claimed to be able to control his dream states. One technique he often used was to take a very brief nap, less than a quarter of a second long. The short snooze allowed him to reach the transitional state between wake and sleep where he saw his surreal imagery. The scientific term for this transition is the hypnagogic state of consciousness. It's where the brain reprocesses life sensations and perceptions from the waking moments of your day. Dali, in his mind, was able to harness these hypnagogic hallucinations and creatively include them within his masterpieces of fine art. It makes perfect sense that you would need a strange technique to create such strange art. Based on Salvador Dali's famous quote, "I am not strange, I am just not normal," we can't be sure Dali would have considered his artwork strange. Rather, he may have referred to it as just not normal. Being strange or not normal was oddly typical for Surrealism, what one might call a far from typical art movement. Most admirers of dream art would agree you can scarcely think of the term Surrealism without conjuring up an out-of-the-ordinary image in your mind. And such is the case when we look at The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. There indeed is quite a bit of strange abnormality to look at here. Perhaps the most curious elements in this painting are the drooping pocket watches. Even more curious is Dali's cheesy explanation of them. When asked about the meaning of the drooping pocket watches seen within his famous masterpiece, he claimed that they had been inspired at an outdoor cafe when he saw a wheel of camembert cheese melting in the hot sun. The truthfulness of his explanation, however, is often up for debate among art historians. Many speculate that the drooping pocket watches are Dali's interpretive symbol of Albert Einstein's 1930s groundbreaking theory of relativity, which scientifically quantified the relationship between space and time. Others believe that Dali's melting pocket watches simply represent the time which escapes us while we are sleeping, or the persistence of time in the eyes of the dreamer. Dali, in this case, is the dreamer. Take a good look at the creature lying atop the rock on the beach with a drooping pocket watch over it. This abstract form, with its large nose and over-exaggerated eyelashes, made frequent appearances in Dali's art, which leads us to surmise that the creature is a self-portrait in profile of the artist himself. And if you look very closely, you'll notice that the creature's eye is closed, suggesting sleep as well as a potential dream state. Notice that the creature is also the only object painted abstractly within the surreal landscape. Everything else in the painting, although unnaturally arranged in juxtaposition, is created with intricate detail. Therefore, the abstract form also symbolizes the fleeting or fading parts of dreams, those that we can't recall in realistic detail when we awake. Think about your own dreams. If you're anything like me, some mornings I wake up remembering only a few vague details from my slumbering mind. Yet other days, I wake up with vivid recollections of my dreams in their entirety, and everything seems so real. And speaking of real, the craggy rock cliffs in the background of Dali's landscape represent a tip of the Cap de Creu Peninsula found in northeastern Catalonia, Spain, where Dali was born, so they are very real. You probably noticed lots of bugs in the persistence of memory. Salvador Dali was fixated on bugs, stemming from a childhood fear, and often integrated bugs into his dream art. When Dali was 5 years old, he saw an insect that had been eaten by ants, and nothing remained except the carcass. He carried this memory with him throughout life. For Dali, ants were a symbol of decay. In this case, the orange watch at the bottom left is covered in ants, and not only alludes to the decaying of time, but serves as a reminder that time greatly affects human existence. Here's a fun little bug fact for you about surrealist Salvador Dali. As the story goes, Dali was so fearful of a grasshopper one evening in his abode that he jumped from a second-story window to elude the tiny green creature. Let's leave the wacky world of bugs and get back to the persistence of memory. After the original gallery showing at the Museum of Modern Art, New York City in 1934, an anonymous patron of the arts bought the piece and donated it to the museum for permanent display. The persistence of memory is definitely larger than life dream art that has always garnered critical acclaim in the art world. However, visitors at MoMA, including my own son, are surprised when they see that the masterpiece is only 9.5 by 13 inches. That's just slightly larger than a piece of notebook paper. Such a tiny canvas for such a big splash in the art world. No one quite painted dreamscapes like Salvador Dali, and the persistence of memory is the perfect example to explore. It's been fun meeting Salvador Dali with you today, discovering his droopy dream art and learning a little bit about surrealism. Thanks for stopping by my studio for Art to Know with MommyO, where fine art is fun art. Come back again soon, but in the meantime, to explore your own surreal dreams using markers, crayons, and a paper plate. Now, how surreal is art on a paper plate? Check out my blog at homespunandhandson.com. There you'll find a fun, hands-on activity that will help you create a droopy pocket watch like those Dali painted in the persistence of memory.